looking at Titus chapter 1, verse 14, picking up right where we left off in verse 13, same sentence. We're reading it in Greek first. Me prosekontes iudiakois mathois kai entolais anthropon apostrophomenon apostrophomenon. There we go. Tain aletheon. All right. The NASB is not paying attention to Jewish myths and commandments of men who turn away from the truth. So what was immediately talked about previously is the false teachers who need to be reproved severely, so that they, again, the they question is still there, they being Cretan believers as a whole might be sound in the faith, or they being the false teachers. And then verse 14 is actually a little bit of a hint there, I think. Not paying attention to Jewish myths and commandments of men who turn away from the truth. So when we already have that commandments of men who turn away from the truth, that's who actually needs to be rebuked. So it seems that this verse 14 is highlighting that the believers need to be edified and encouraged to not be paying attention. So here the may is not paying attention or devoting themselves to, this participle here, modifying those that are being sound. So it's modifying the they here from the previous being sound. The question still remains is who is that they? Is it the Cretan believers as a whole, or is it the false teachers? Not devoting themselves to, not paying attention to myths, muthos, of what sort? Jewish myths. So not paying attention to that, devoting themselves to that, but also commandments. So there's two things that they are to be not paying attention to. One is myths and one is commandments. What's modifying myths is Jewish, and also the commandments. What kind of commandments? The commandments of men, a genitive word there. The commandments of men, and then we have a further elaboration on what kind of men. Here we have a participle. Men who turn away, men who are themselves turned away, this passive sense, they've turned away from the truth. What have they turned away from? They've turned away from the truth. So that is part of the reason of rebuking those that are teaching false things, is that if someone embraces those things, they end up doing this very thing, paying attention to Jewish myths, but also paying attention to the commandments of men rather than to what God has laid out in his word. And in so doing, they turn away from the truth. Again, there's this connection between the truth and living and life and godliness. So turning away from the truth also functionally results in a turning away from true living, which we're going to actually see unpacked in verse 15. So that is Titus chapter 1, verse 14.